Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for watching our presentation. To start off, we want to talk about lying. Lying is a form of deception. When a person lies, they normally force statements they know are false onto others, but there are exceptions. These lies can become intense. On average, a person says 5.5 lies for every white lie. On this presentation, we show it as 11 lies per 13 general lies. There are 4 main types of liars. These are occasional liars, frequent liars, smooth liars, and compulsive liars. Occasional liars do not lie often, so their most severe lies make them guilty and ask for forgiveness. Frequent liars are sloppy liars who lie often. They struggle to properly cover up their lies, an issue that winds up harming their relationships. Smooth liars, like the name suggests, are able to make rather convincing lies and don't get overwhelmed with guilt when they do lie. Compulsive liars are people who are obsessed with telling lies. They are obsessed to the point that even if the truth doesn't particularly harm them, they would rather lie to gain the most advantages. Compulsive liars sometimes can't differentiate the truth from their lies because their lies are so commonplace, so they sometimes wind up deceiving without knowing. Occasional liars lie the least, and compulsive liars lie the most. The more often one lies, the more they adapt to the anxiety-inducing feelings lying causes, and the guilt gets desensitized. Lying is considered a stressful mental activity. Just like it takes a physical toll as it raises our heartbeat and may even cause sweating of the palms, it also takes a mental toll. This anxiety increases activity in the limbic system, which carries responses to stress. The frontal lobe responsible for administering cognitive functions starts suppressing the truth to avoid complication in the process of lying. The prefrontal cortex at the front of the frontal lobe gets electrical stimulation that jolts our mind to help us come up with a good lie. Compared to telling the truth, lying involves a lot more activity in the frontal lobe and the limbic system and other parts of the brain. Because of that, lying isn't a very easy activity and comes naturally only to a few. Lying is something that takes mental practice, so good lies are a sign of cognitive development in children. Children as young as 4 view lies as bad, but by the time they're middle schoolers, they learn the basics of duping others. Lying requires the speaker to make things conceivable and consistent with the situation and previous statements, which are skills that get better as cognitive abilities develop. For that reason, children with mental disabilities like ASD or autism spectrum disorder are less likely to lie in their favor. However, saying that autistic children can't lie or act dishonestly at all is a false statement.
Lying can be explained using Freud's theory of the ID, which describes a personality as an interplay of ID, ego, and superego. A person's ID is the most primitive part of their personality because it stands for the self-preservation instincts, like the urge to eat and to drink. This develops during infancy. As we grow older, we begin to understand that we can't always satisfy our ID urges by impulse, so the ID component gets driven into our unconscious mindset. It is the ego level of mind that acknowledges reality and compromises with our ID urges. The last component, the superego, starts developing around the age of 5 because it is the moral compass of our personality. As toddlers, we lack the ability to understand right and wrong, so we behave mainly to avoid getting into trouble. At around the age of 5, the young mind begins to understand concepts like others' feelings and empathy. Children develop a superego because they begin to express empathy and avoid hurting others' feelings because it's the norm. As we grow older, we develop our emotional intelligence and continue to act by what's considered right by society. In this example, we see how ID, ego, and superego relate to each other. ID identifies the simple need to eat. Ego assesses the situation, which is being in a meeting, and denies eating out of practicality. The superego also denies it, but when considering ethics and mannerism. Lying ties in with our ego and superego. Sometimes our ego can't cope with a very unpleasant reality, so lying hides the truth for our own sake. The superego, as mentioned before, is driven by our urge to fit into society by being a good person. So lying comes in to better our reputation and hide our personality imperfections from others. Lying also relates to Maslow's hierarchy of need, which illustrates our needs in a pyramid that we climb up to achieve, with the more basic and imperative ones at the bottom of the pyramid. The bottom has physiological needs, which include basic survival requirements and safety needs. Then there are psychological needs, like feeling loved and having self-esteem. At the top is self-fulfillment, or self-actualization. It means one is achieving your full potential and living your life in the present moment. Self-actualization is something most people fail to accomplish despite it being a universal goal. So one likes to make the false impression that they have a wholesome, fulfilling life or to achieve self-actualization. Lying thus becomes a behavioral pattern that is repeated until the results are satisfactory. Do people lie differently by gender? Well, there are some simple trends. Women tend to lie to protect someone's feelings, while men tend to lie about themselves. However, men and women usually lie around the same frequency. Children learn to lie from the people around them and continuously do it, slowly understanding the consequences. Furthermore, teenagers typically lie with a high frequency due to their rebellious nature associated with their age. So, we've reached the end of our presentation on lying and how it relates to the psychology of a person. Thank you guys for watching, and don't feel afraid to like and subscribe.